So everybody, we're not going to do slides today. These ladies know everything about everything, so they don't need slides. But Amy and Jennifer are going to talk creative financing opportunities, different income by design. So you guys have the pamphlets on the tables. If you don't have one, pick one up. I'll grab a few and pass them around. But I'm going to give them the floor, and they're going to wow you with everything and anything.
So funny. Thanks, Caleb.
Hey guys, we are super excited to be here, and we are just so grateful that Caleb invited us to come and share a little bit about who we are and how we do real estate. And so we'll kind of go through some things. You have a flyer there. We're not going to be able to get through everything. We have about 45 minutes or so. And we like to do some Q&A at the end, so I want to make sure that we give you lots and lots of value. And so in order to do that, you got to know a little bit about who we are and how we started. So we're going to share that with you. And so for me, my name is Amy Brandt, and this is Jennifer Huber, and our journey started together, I guess, about 4 years ago. Yeah, and so for me, I started in real estate. My journey started in affordable housing, and so we had modular and manufactured homes. And because we offered so many different options, there was a lot of obstacles that came with that. And so everything that I'm going to share with you came from, we needed a solution. And so we added everything that we had a problem. So affordable housing, we needed insurance. We needed financing, we needed credit counseling and credit restoration, we needed the ground up construction eventually. And so from the construction side and all of the things, I learned a lot along the way. And I think I learned a lot through my failures too. And so I am a mama of 3. I have 2 grandbabies. I'm an adoptive mama. I'm a foster mom, and I have an autistic child who is 20. And so what part of that, well, my oldest is 28, so we got 28, 20, and 18, and then grandbaby is 6 and 1, and about to be 2. And so through my journey, we have a lot of medical challenges, and I needed a different way. And a W-2 job, I think I'm unemployable, really. A W-2 job did not fit my lifestyle. And so through everything that we have and we learned, we lived through Hurricane Katrina. We're from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. We lived through Hurricane Katrina. We actually rebuilt a lot of the houses, the modular houses for Bay St. Louis. We rebuilt the schools there. And so, and the reason why I share that, because through those lived experiences, it brings us fast forward to where I am today. And so I do own a real estate brokerage. I am not a real estate agent, and that is on purpose. And so I love being able to solve problems. So when there is an obstacle, it's an opportunity. And so today we're going to share a little bit about some very creative. So I've been a lender for 28 years in mortgage, creative financing. We do have the private money sector. We have a lot of different opportunities, but what happened, we had a gap in our financing side, and so in the middle we needed solutions. And so we're going to share more about unbankable and hybrid investing and how we do business today. Jennifer.
So I'm Jennifer. I started on the investment side kind of by accident as well. So I am a mom of 3 as well. My kids are 38, 35, and 33. I have grandkids in high school. Believe me, I do not feel that old. And I do not retire very well at all. So we owned a chain of Domino's pizza stores for about 25 years. We raised our family in Maine. We owned all our commercial property that our restaurants kind of sat in. And when our youngest left for the military in 2011, because I know many of you here are veterans and we really appreciate you or your active duty. I just dropped my son off yesterday to go to Alaska for 10 days. He is not super happy about that trip. But, so when he left, we wanted to retire. And we had been buying properties in Las Vegas during 2007, 8, 9, 10, what was happening then. So I was putting $100 down, buying rental properties for $30,000 with tenants in them, making money, right? And then Hurricane Katrina happened down here. And so someone had told us about this Go Zone thing. Does anybody know about the Go Zone? No? Okay. You gotta hear about Go Zone. All right. Deep dive way later, but you could build new property that needed to go into rental status. And so we had sold off some of our commercial property and needed tax solutions, we'll just say. And so we built a couple $1 million worth of property down here on the coast and put it into rental status. By doing that, you could depreciate 50% the first year. And you could go backwards 5 years or forwards 5 years. So all of that capital gains we had from selling commercial stuff, we did not pay, okay, because it got rolled in. So fast forward, we moved to Vegas, we were loving it, we had a bunch of rentals, we were wholesaling, we were flipping, and I got my license in Vegas, mostly because I was doing investment kind of stuff for myself, and really worked with investors, loving our life out there. We had a property manager who we thought was doing a great job in Mississippi. And then in 2020, the world exploded, and I was bored, so we drove from Vegas to Maine to visit our children and our parents, and then I said, let's go to Mississippi and check on our properties. And I was mortified. And that was December of 2020, and I got in the car and I said to my husband, we are moving. So we moved and we relocated by February of 2021. I was flying back and forth for a while because I still had some deals and stuff going on out there. And I was gonna come change the Gulf Coast. So I had, in that 4 years, rehabbed 24 properties. We have long-term, short-term, mid-term, flips, I don't know, all kinds of fun stuff. I was running a RIA on the Gulf Coast for a few years. That was how I met Miss Amy. And I had met her at a women's group and said, hey, you need to be one of our speakers. And we really kind of hit it off. And what happened was, she had the lending and investment side, and I had the real estate investing side. And so together, we kind of became this full picture. Now she's a I, and she's all happy and sparkly, and we love that. And I'm a D. I'm like, I love contracts, I love a good fight, right? She wants everybody to be happy. So that's a good thing. So we get to work in collaboration. And so we get to travel around and help other people do amazing things, but we had this gap. We had to keep telling people no, whether it was someone that wanted to buy a home, or if it was someone that wanted some kind of investment property. Not because they were bad people, right? So we're not talking about people that are earning $500 a month living on the riverbank, all right? We're talking about all of you, right? Life happens. Amy said she's not employable. She's a 1099. She can make a boatload of money, but if we're writing off everything we possibly can, we don't look good on paper to a bank. Has that ever happened to anybody in this room? Right, right. So you are our perfect clients. So we're here to help you with that, and there's always more, because we really create income by design, and we really love to. So who's a realtor in here? Not realtors? Okay. Who are lenders? Okay, yay. Who are investors? Who are all of that? Okay, Caleb, we're gonna teach you all how to do part of it, the components that you want that are good add-ons for your business, and to get paid for them. So who would like to learn more about that? Perfect. All right. So Miss Amy, tell us a little bit about some of our income stacking.
Yeah, so what we really realized is that a lot of people do really, really do all the right things, and you're a real estate agent, you're helping traditional buyers, you're helping traditional sellers, and you're referring that to a traditional finance company or a bank or whatever. And what if you could get paid to just be able to pass that off and have a whole team behind you? And what could you do with that money? And so if you are in real estate and you are a real estate agent and you are not getting that compensation, then there is an opportunity there. And so we don't originate loans, but we help others that are doing referrals and doing certain things in the business how to be able to do an income stacking. And so when you go to a bank and they say no, traditionally the real estate agent has a couple of different options, or if you go to a lender, if you're a lender and you have a buyer that cannot buy, whether it happens to do with credit or you can't prove your income, and then typically you're either helping them to be able to restore their credit, or you're giving them an action plan to be able to, they just need time and they would have to rent, and so for us, that was like, well, nobody wins there. So the buyer who is unbankable, they don't win, and the real estate agent that is trying to help them and the lender that is trying to help them, none of them win. And so that's where we have an alternative financing, and this is where it gets really creative, and especially for our investors. And so, do you want to take the next part?
Sure. So we are very investor friendly. This is going to make you happy. Returns. Now, we are not attorneys. We are not CPA, so no legal stuff here, right? But returns on average are about 24 to 38% returns on our deals. So investors really like them, especially investors that are busy. Like I know some of you have other full-time jobs, or think about someone that's a pilot or a doctor. Things like that, they really are looking for ways to invest in real estate, but they don't have the time to do wholesaling, or they don't have the time to do fix and flips. Easy, right? They don't have time to go find the property, have a team work on it. And if you're thinking about a traditional rental, which I know there's a bunch of you that have rentals in here, so we're gonna go to Caleb, and Caleb's gonna say, I am gonna find you the perfect rental, okay? And we love Caleb. So Caleb's gonna find us a great rental. The problem with that is that now Caleb found me a house that I can rent out. I have to get a DSCR loan, which is great, but I gotta put 20% down, okay, on day one. Then I might have to do a little bit of work on that property. And Caleb's gonna put it on the market for me, and it might sit for like 30 days until I get a tenant in place. And now when I get the tenant in place, I'm gonna get, I don't know, $2,000, $2,500 deposit, and I'm gonna get about $2,500 to $3,000 a month rental income, and I might make $200 to $300 a month. That's a lot of risk to me, and I have a boatload of those, so I've done it, right? And I also know that when they move out, they might not have done a great job with the property. So I call them friends. So when I go into a property and there's lots of roaches, they are not my friends, right? And I gotta replace carpets and flooring and all those things. And now I start all over again, right? What if there was an alternative that you could buy the property for a tenant that truly chose that property, that they want to be their home? And that person puts down $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $100,000 for you to buy that property for them. Now, I'm gonna go buy that property for $300,000. I'm gonna put my 20% down, $60,000. But now I have a tenant that chose that home, that loves it. They want it to be theirs, but they couldn't fit in the bank box. So they give me money day one. I have no vacancy. I know what the rent's gonna be. I have no rehab. I don't have to do any repairs. I just collect a check. Don't call, send money, okay? And so if I know up front that I'm gonna make money on day one when it comes in, because that person has put down a chunk of my 20%, I'm gonna make anywhere from $600 to $1,200 a month cash flow, and I get a minimum of a 10% bump at the end, which is kind of like a slow flip.
You didn't have to worry about any rehab, any holding costs. You didn't have to find the property. You didn't have to analyze the property. You literally got a phone call.
It gets delivered to you on a silver platter. Here's the tenant, here's the property they want, here's the cash flow. We have a magic spreadsheet that shares everything with you. Here's your insurance, here's your taxes, everything.
Now the difference in that, so the realtors in the room and the lenders in the room that have opportunity, because you have buyers that come to you, and what happens is we have to live life on life's terms. So they could have been, maybe they went through a divorce, maybe they need to sell a house and to purchase 2 more in that divorce. But for whatever reason, their credit, maybe one was supposed to pay the bills and the other one didn't, and so they were negatively impacted. Well, if they come to you as a lender and they come to you as a real estate agent or just a friend or family and say, hey, I really need to sell my house and I need to buy a house, but I am unbankable. So then through their story, for the affordability, it does not matter on their credit score. It does not matter that in traditional type of lending, right? So then you send them to us as unbankable. And we do all the heavy lifting for you. And then if that is if it fits, like she said, 10% down or more at a $200,000 or more purchase price. And then we do all the heavy lifting, sometimes $100,000 down. We're gonna share some scenarios with you, some case studies with you. But would that be life-changing for a family that is going through some difficult times? I mentioned a divorce, but what if it was a medical issue? Or what if it was someone that they were going through for a loved one and they had to be off work? It wasn't that they couldn't afford it, it just, they went through some times and now they have all of, they're back on their feet and they're coming to you or to other folks to be able to say, hey, there is no solution. Well, there is. And we will come in there with our capital partners, right? And we do the matchmaking. There is no fee to that tenant buyer. It's a tenant to buyer. It's a lease with an option, 2 instruments. And we're going to go through that with a predetermined price. We'll go through that in a second.
And we give them 1 to 3 years.
Actually, you can do, we have some in some states. We say 1 to 3, but we'll go 5. So 1 to 5 years, it just depends. We do most states, not all states, that we want to keep our hybrid investors protected, not landlord friendly. We don't like some of those states. And so basically what happens is you all have friends, family, co-workers, people that you're in the business that you talk to all day, every day. If you don't know a real estate agent, you need to. If you don't know a lender, you need to. And then you become that person, right? Or you send them to us, and then we do all the heavy lifting for you. The commission is 100%. Those real estate agents, the listing agent and the buyer's agent is 100% commission. And did we say that you can pick any house? Any house you want to.
So it doesn't have to be the houses we want. Typically a lease option works in that way. I own a house and I want to lease option that house to you, but you gotta like my house. And if you don't like it, tough cookies. We do it different. We qualify them very much like a bank would qualify them, knowing their debt to income ratio, what's gonna be good for them. We make sure their money is seasoned so that when they're ready to actually take out that loan, they're ready for that. So what happens is we pre-qual them and we find amazing realtors, or maybe the realtor brought them to us and we're like, okay, you get to go shopping.
Well, and you can do for the lender side, our lenders are partnered with us, right? So if lenders in the room, if you send us a deal to be able to stop, drop, and roll, which we do that, we have those calls all the time, gotta close in 2.5 weeks, and we'll share that, one of the case studies here in just a moment. But you would do the qualification just like normal, driver's license, good card, pay stubs, bank statements, tax returns, being able to do an MOA and say, hey, this is what you need to do and you need a year. Well, if you need a year, we're gonna give you 2. If you need 2, we're gonna give you 3, right? And we're really, truly setting them up for success because we're the bridge. So it is not for the fact that the investor wants this house back like your traditional lease auction would be. Right? And we're truly trying to have that success. Now, I will tell you, that's a traditional type of residential. We do that for investors too. And so on the investor side, I'll use an example of what one we had is he had 20% down. I think he was like 790s in his credit score. But he found, with his real estate agent, he found a duplex that he didn't have quite enough down. And so it really made sense for the hybrid investor to be able to buy that for him, give him about 2 years, and then they came back for that equity, and it's a cash flow and on both sides. So it just makes sense.
And here's the good parts. And we'll tell you the bad parts too, okay? So the great parts are the tenant buyer gets to choose the home that they want. So they love that home, and they put $20,000 or $30,000 minimum into that home. They're not calling you for, trash, toilets, any of that stuff. They're responsible for everything. They take ownership of that home when they put that kind of money into a place. So they're not destroying the property, okay? The good part for the tenant is there's a predetermined price. So if I buy the house today at $300,000, in 3 years, I'm gonna sell it to that tenant at $330,000, okay? So I know I'm gonna make an extra 30 grand in 3 years. Plus I've had monthly cash flow. When that tenant buyer puts their money down, we are giving them credit for that at the end. So when they go to get their bank loan in the home they're in, they've loved, that they've maybe upgraded, added granite, added, painted, whatever they did, that was a predetermined price. If the appraisal comes in at $350,000, that equity is all theirs. Okay, so where can you rent and create equity? Now they also have an option, and that option fee is theirs, and they can sell that. So if in a couple of years they get relocated or they get divorced or something happens and they don't want to fulfill that contract, they have the right to sell it. Now, if they have chosen not to fulfill that contract and they went and bought a car and didn't pay their bills and made their credit worse, that was their choice. They will lose their option fee. It is very, very rare that that happens, but it can happen, okay? Now, the other part is that, so where can you rent, gain equity, and have the option to sell and make money? I don't know any rentals that I'm familiar with that do that, okay? And on the investor side, again, up front, you know how much you're making every month, you know what your end is, your bump at the end is. So everybody wins. The realtors get paid. At that point, the loan, when they're ready to take out their own loan, they're in a great position because they have a chunk down, they've repaired all their credit, and some of our, or many of our investors will give them credit monthly for paying their rent on time and taking care of the property and that sort of thing. So if they went 3 years, they'd have like another $3,600 for closing costs. So you have put them in this amazing position, and you had the ability to make some great money in the interim and have a good impact on their lives.
Well, and I would say that it's a super easy way. So I shared with you that my son lives with autism. He doesn't know anything about real estate or how to manage a business or anything, he really does, that's not where he shines. But he can have credit, and he can do a DSCR loan. And if he has the right team in place, then immediately he can have anywhere from $600 to $800 to $900 or more in cash flow, and then be able to make $30,000 to $40,000. He really didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to find the property, rehab the property, or take care of the property. So anyone can do that with the right team. Here's where we really, really like it. The market right now, sometimes we have properties that need to move. So if you're an investor and you're selling your property, they need to move. And again, 65% of Americans cannot qualify for a traditional mortgage. So who are serving those people? Okay? Well, Jennifer is putting on a new pair of lens, and they're blue lens. If you know, you know. It's a blue ocean, right? And when you go swimming in a blue ocean, and if you're a real estate agent in here and you have a listing, right? And you start teaching other people what options that you have. You're not your traditional type of financing, it's creative. So we have unbankable, alternative types of financing. And so you're able to help more people, but you're able to market that property in a different way. So it helps our investors that are looking to sell their properties, it helps our homeowners that are looking to sell the properties, and everyone is a win-win. There's a different way to market that. You're attracting that. You're swimming in the blue ocean, right? And so that makes a huge difference, because then you go, well, I'm a hybrid, I want to be a hybrid investor. I have decent credit. I can do a DSCR loan. You know, maybe you have money, maybe you don't. Maybe you are partnered with the JV, and you can get into a hybrid investor with no money if you structure it right. We can help you with that. But the biggest thing is, how do you find these deals? Any realtor in the room? Right? Any lenders in the room? And so the biggest thing about it is, when you start opening that up to be able to see, there's a different way to do real estate, then you win. Or you can sit back and wait for one of us to call you and say, hey, I've got one for you. Right? We actually use a system and it sends it out to you, and you can grab the deal and have that. Now, one of the things we found in our business is we want to educate you as a business owner. So we have a course. It's completely free. It takes about an hour and a half if you sit down at one time. It goes through on how to actually take your hybrid investor business and understand it and be compliant. We handle all of that for you. Again, all of the structure all the way through. We handle all of the instruments for you. We highly recommend that, you know, we're not a CPA and we're not an attorney, that you have these reviewed. But from the time that we interview the tenant buyer, then we're going to tell you as a hybrid investor the story. If it is a good fit, we have match made you together. And then we do all of the compliance part too, so that we do the interview with you together, make sure it's a good fit, and then you're closing and you have a tenant. We have an investor. We'll go into some examples.
I want to back up for 1 second. So you said something really important. You are lenders, investors, and realtors in here. So I want to make sure you're catching what's being given to you. If you are realtors, you have people in your database right now that can't buy. You now have an alternative for them. If you are a lender that can approve something today, I'm sure you got some of those, you have an alternative for them. They're your loan in the next 1 to 3 years. We don't take any of that. We want you guys to have your full commissions. We want you to do all that. And as a realtor, think about if you go to take a listing. Who has a listing package here? Right? Okay, Caleb, do you have a listing package when you show up? I want to take your listing, right? You got a whole marketing plan? You're supposed to? Okay. Now, what if your marketing plan included lease option, and you're actually marketing specifically? The seller doesn't have to do the lease option. We have investors that are waiting in the wings that want those deals for you. So if you are marketing differently to sell a home today than the average realtor in the marketplace, and you do an open house, or you're marketing in that way, you have now created a blue ocean of people that nobody's taken care of. So now you have a list of buyers, and even if they don't love that house, you created a list and you created interest in that home for that seller for people that would have never shown up.
I can tell you, when you market that way, probably 80% that come to you actually can buy, and they can do a traditional loan. They just don't know that they can. And here's the thing, if you're a lender or you're a real estate agent and you want to be the hybrid investor, okay, right? You can absolutely be the hybrid investor, because you can be their capital partner. You can have, there's a lot of different options there, and I'm trying to be kind of a little bit more high level. So I'll give you an example. We have an investor that literally didn't even know what sheetrock was. Never done real estate, never heard anything. He's on his 15th property, and every one of them are cash flowing at a minimum of $700 or more per month. He didn't have all the capital either. He just went and raised the capital, y'all. And he did a DSCR loan, and he does it in multiple states. And they're coming full circle, and so now they're getting $40, $50, $60, $70,000 when they're closing on that. Here's one. Everybody goes, hey, what happens if something goes south? So he had one that he needed to evict, went through the process. He had some help, right? Because he has boots on the ground where he's investing in, because he's doing his due diligence. He has a team. We help them with that as well. And he actually put a little bit of money in that, and he put it on the market, and he made $100,000 on that flip. So it is definitely a win-win-win. And I would say, about 90%?
It's like 87.8% fulfill their contracts and go to closing. And the investors walk away with their money and get to do it all over again. Things happen in people's lives, right? So we can't always control that. Yes, you do have, I want to make sure we leave some extra time here. Okay, real fast. You have a sheet here. On the second sheet, we actually gave you some case studies. So, case study number 5. This one's in Florida. This was a new build. You can tell by the picture. This came from a realtor that had signed a contract with a new build company. Yes, we know the new builds give them great interest rates, right? They buy them all down, 4.99. Okay, but not everybody qualifies for that. They were under contract. Now, they weren't very smart, because what do we tell them to do? Don't go buy anything. They went and bought a bunch of furniture and put it on layaway. Now, the lender goes last minute to pull their credit to do the final and give them their new house. Now they don't qualify.
Because they bought furniture.
So, realtor did their job, title company did their job, the builder did their job, everybody did their job, spent a lot of time and energy, and they gotta walk away because no deal. Then they call us. Oh, deal. Now, investors, if you're a brand new investor and somebody just buys a brand new house that has a warranty, how do you feel about that as a landlord? That's a thumbs up. And you're gonna make $600-700 a month. That's a pretty big thumbs up too. Okay? You can see in here what the cash flow and the return on each one of these are. Next one is case study number 6. That one is in Texas, and that one, the lender called us, and they were family moving from one part of Texas to another part of Texas. They were selling a house. Realtors, let's be smart. Seriously. People put the house on the market, they had great credit. They made great money. Seriously. They put the house on the market, it goes under contract. They've chosen the house that they need in the new location. Same company, just a transfer. The realtor said, don't bother paying your last month's mortgage. It's gonna settle at the table. Well, it might, but by the time it gets paid off and it goes to the bank and the bank clears everything out, it is now past 30 days. As a lender, you can't give a loan to someone that has a late mortgage in the last 12 months. But they just made $100,000 on the sale. And they have a property under contract. So the lender calls and says, can you save the deal? Okay. Purchase price was $379,900, $380,000. We called the realtor that had it under contract. Hey, is it gonna appraise? Yep, it's gonna appraise over 4. Great. So the contract now with the person that was supposed to buy it, who can't buy, we now have an investor that's gonna come in and take that contract for them. They said, let's bump that up by $20,000. We're gonna get $20,000 in closing costs, okay? It's a $400,000 property now. If I do a DSCR loan, 20%, $80,000 down. Everybody follow? The person moving into the house gives $100,000 on day one. The investor made $20,000 to sign the contract. The rent is $38.50. The investor makes $871 a month cash flow. They only needed about 12 months because they need that to drop off. They're at about 18 right now, so they're getting ready because we need that to come off their credit. They're ready to get their own loan out, and the bump on that was $40,000. So does that make an investor happy? $20,000 at the table, about $871 a month, and $40,000 in 18 months. Who wants that?
Now, this family, I will tell you, she has gone to every HOA meeting. She has updated all of, throughout the process. But when she called, she was in a panic. And she didn't have a solution. She had sold her house, and she had nowhere to go. And they had a contract for 2.5 weeks, y'all. We closed them in 3. And so our capital partners have to be deal ready. They have to be, ready to go with a DSCR loan, ready to go with money. And when we make that call, if that's your deal, you got to stop, drop, and roll, because we have families out there that potentially could lose that contract or the house that they picked out.
Yeah. And then the last one, case study, is in Columbus, Mississippi. Amy's a little more familiar with this one. How did that come to us?
Oh, that was what I call free 99.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I don't know if you guys do Facebook Marketplace and free 99, right? And so I post some ads on a program that was lease auction, and she answered the ad. We got on the phone, had a conversation, and so they had money to be able to put down. We qualified them. It was a good fit, and so I think I shared with you that I have a brokerage, but we don't do regular real estate. I don't have a real estate license, but I get to make some referrals.
So we have someone that calls that's a tenant buyer and they're ready to go. So if I know someone here in Pensacola and that's where they need to buy, I'm like, hey Caleb, I got a buyer for you. Can you take them shopping? They're pre-qualified at this, this, and this. You're gonna deal with an investor and you're gonna deal with the tenant buyer. You ready to write the contract? Sure. You get paid. The investor gets paid. Title company gets paid. Everybody's happy. Okay? Now this one, the husband had a heart attack. He got laid off from work after he got off FMLA, and they got behind. He's fine. He's back to work. He makes good money. Not really his fault, right? But a bank doesn't care. We actually care. And it has to make sense.
And that hybrid investor, they had 2. So one had the money, one had the credit, they partnered together, and then they were able to.
And she's a property manager. That investor actually is a property manager. She has, 100 properties that she manages. She is a realtor, she's a broker, and she says to this day,
She's a lender.
She's a lender. This was the best one I have ever done. Best return, best tenants, so we do lots of other things you'll see on that front page. As Amy said, we kind of think of ourselves as an ecosystem, right? Because we have traditional lending, but we are not your competition if you're a lender. If it's somebody that comes to us and needs it, we take it. But if you got stuff and you wanna send it to us, we are gonna send them back to you when they are ready. If you're a realtor, we wanna make sure you get paid. I have a real estate license. I am not screwing you. I want you to be my friends because I need to send you more deals. If you're an investor, same, right? We need to work together. It's not competition. We are truly about collaboration. So we want to move you forward. So lending, real estate, unbankable, hybrid investing. We also have business purpose lending. I was talking to this other couple over here, we can do RV parks, we can do credit card stacking for your business, up to $300,000, right? In an LLC, unsecured, credit, 0 interest for 18 months. Who wants some of that? Can you do a flip with that? Pay that baby off? So we're really creative and we want to help you kind of get in that circle. Where do you fit? Where do you want to get paid on some of that?
And one thing that I would add, so we are really big on impact investing. And so the model that we just shared with you is people first. You can do property first. And so when you have properties that you own and you want to do a lease option, that is definitely something that we can help you with. It really is a win-win. We do sober living, transitional housing, we do neurodivergent and veteran and senior. It works with all of them. You're not doing the operational side of that, you're doing the real estate side of that. And so sometimes we have really large leases for 6 years. The maximum is the 6 years with some entities. And then some you have individuals that are already operating some different sober living housing. So it's really opening up your mind to see creative strategies. We didn't go over everything. There is more. But for the real estate agent, for the investor that is trying to get into investing, that wants the least amount of risk, to be able to deliver that on a silver platter, this is really a solution for lenders, for real estate agents, and for home buyers and investors, that it really is a win-win-win. And so we have found our success in that, and so we're just able to share that, and you wanna open it up with?
Yeah, we'll have questions. On the bottom of the sheet, the front sheet, is our phone number. We do have a team. One of them is my oldest daughter. She's behind the scenes. She takes care of her kids, but she answers the phone too. So you will typically get one of us, okay? If not, but you can text us your name, your email, your phone number, your address, your name, your email, your phone number. We will reach out to you if you want to have a conversation one-on-one. We can do some collaboration and little mastermind groups if you have some realtors that really want to work together, or investors. We're in Mississippi. We go to Alabama, we go to Florida, we go to Atlanta. We travel a lot and we love it. We love to present because we really want to give you other opportunities of creating more income on what you're already doing. So, right, questions?
So with your tenants, do you credit them for a certain portion of their rent? Like I credit $200 to $300 per month towards the principal of the house when I do a rent to own or lease option purchase. That just helps go towards the down payment.
So
do you guys do the same
two
thing?
pieces, yeah. Sometimes it depends,
Right.
how much they want to pay for rent today.
Right.
Sometimes they want to bump that up. Or you can teeter-totter that, right? It
Yes.
just depends. So we give them actually full credit for their original option fee. So
Right.
if you gave me $20,000 today,
Right.
you're going to get full credit on paper for $20,000
Right.
down. Some of our investors will give, up to a certain percentage every month. That's going to be your credit at the end as well,
Right.
and that goes towards closing costs.
Well, and that's where you paid on time, you take care of the property, that's a bonus. Not all of our investors do that. We do let you run your business and have some recommendations, but
No,
yeah.
we have another one in this, where is that one? I think it's in Long Beach. The girl wanted to buy the house, lease option. Mom was helping her a little bit. She wanted her rent to be a fixed rent. So what they did is they prepaid $30,000 in rent. And so the investor's just kind of chunking away at that so that she had a set fixed rent and she was happy with that. So we can be creative in ways that it needs to happen.
There's no limit either, like, our team just closed a 1.2 million, and it was an attorney, something was kind of goofy, and they had 20% down, and so, I mean, there's, the 200,000 is, we've done 189, but they really needed at least 20,000, you know, the 10%, so it just, they need that skin in the game, or it just doesn't work, yeah. Mhm.
Anybody else? Y'all know it all? Y'all understand it all? Anybody interested in any of these deals? Yeah? Okay. Well, if you're interested, text us, let us know, give us a call, we'll set up an appointment. And, yeah, we'll be here for a few minutes. And Caleb, thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry, I had a question. So, I can see multiple avenues between investor, real estate referral, referral back to the lender, et cetera. So, from your side of the house, where do you either like get referral fees or like who, like?
How do we get paid?
Right, exactly.
How do I get paid? That's a really good question. So if it's a tenant that comes to us first, we're gonna refer it out to you. We're gonna go, hey Caleb, you want this deal? 30% referral fee. He's gonna take it all day because the work's done. You just gotta go find the house because you already know that we're ready to go. Now, from the tenant buyer doesn't have any fees. We make them pay for the home inspection because it's gonna be theirs and we want some skin in the game, right? And they gotta understand what they're buying for a property. But our income comes from the investor side because we are delivering you an amazing deal on a silver platter. So we're gonna take percentage of what the tenant buyer put down. So if they put $20,000 down today, we're gonna take a percentage of that for all the work we do. So.
We sign a JV, and so all of the funds go to an escrow, and then it's dispersed at the end, and then that JV is paid our fee.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because tenants paying the investor, and then you get a portion of that. So realtors get the commission, lenders get the commission, so all the commission players in the game, they get all that.
Yep, and the title company gets paid, and yeah, all this stuff is, it closes at a title company, just like a regular deal.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yep. Great question, by the way.
It's not an eviction essentially, right? It's not a
Right, that's why there's two instruments. So you have an option, and they're two totally separate.
Yeah,
You have a
so
lease.
it's just an eviction.
So you're just gonna do an eviction. And that's why certain states, like Minnesota, in the middle of winter, did you know you can't turn off the power, you can't turn off the electric, and everything gets if you're the landlord and the electric and the heat are in your tenant's name, and it's the middle of winter, and they don't pay, that's now your bill as the owner. It cannot be turned off, and you can't evict them in the middle of winter.
Yeah, that's how sewage is in Indiana.
Arizona's like that too, my mom is. You can't do it in Arizona because you'll burn up in the summer, you'll die.
So there are certain states where like, might want to consider where you're doing business, right?
And what,
Yes.
This is totally hands-off over 3 years, I don't have to mess with it, I get a 1099 each year.
Yeah, so couple of options, right? So if you just want to collect a check, so the one in Texas, they just send a check every month, whatever.
we have software programs that we can recommend.
Yeah, that are
It's not-
super easy because you're not responsible for the maintenance. That's the thing. Now you have insurance on the property, so if a tree falls through the roof, that's a little different, right? But the general stuff. Now, some of our investors that are super busy do like to have a property manager because the property manager is then going to maintain clear guidelines and separation and collects the rent for you.
And like when it froze and, you know, just making sure they have boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's
So
one of the
you
things.
could pay them, but they generally are really happy with you because they don't get the tenant calls either.
But they don't have to find the tenant, there's a lot of value, and we pre-negotiate some if you don't have a property manager, and they're happy to do it for a little bit less, because they just don't have all of the work involved that they normally have.
Yes, so you'd really only use them for collection, and then that payment to you, and or if there was an eviction process, then they could go to court for you or something like that if you wanted them to show up.
It's nice because it creates that third-party buffer in between you and the tenant owner.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things, like, we have investor-heavy real estate brokerages, and they love this. It just really makes sense for their sellers, and they do it in reverse. So you can do it people first or property.
Yep. Thank you, Caleb, for having
thank
us.
you.
We really appreciate you. Hopefully someone learned something.
All right, guys. So next month it'll still be the third Thursday of the month. Next month is just going to be a networking. It's kind of right around spring break, so we didn't want to bring a guest speaker in just in case people are going to be gone. I will be gone as well, but we're still going to hold a meet. There'll still be somebody here to make sure that everybody gets everything they need as far as that goes. April is going to be another big month. AJ, where you at? There you are. AJ is going to be hosting an investor collective in Fort Walton Beach as well. So anybody that's
fun.
driving over from that neck of the woods, we're going to be doing one over there. Yours truly will be speaking. I don't know what I'm speaking on yet, but the boss of that meetup will let me know. Probably mostly John and I will probably talk syndication stuff a little bit. He doesn't know that yet, but he does now. Thanks, John. And then we'll kind of talk about all the shit I get myself into. Well, so that'll be what, the first Tuesday of the month, right? So we're gonna do the first Tuesday of the month in Fort Walton, and the third Thursday of the month here. We'll get all of that stuff out in a marketing email to you guys. If you haven't signed up, go to ourinvestorcollective.com, sign up. I don't spam you, I just send you guys monthly updates. We are thinking about, if I can find the time, of doing like just a quick newsletter each month with deals that are out there, different options like any vendor things that we've negotiated, etc. But nothing, weekly, hey, do you want to buy a house stuff. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Stay tonight, network, do everything. We're gonna get some video of everybody talking and networking because we're doing an ad for Facebook and Instagram, so we can try to bring more people into the group.